So speaking on that, I think that's a good segue to go into. You told me a story about how Charlamagne the God got his name, and I thought that was interesting. I don't think people know that. Why would he call himself that based on what you're going to explain?
What is he, 5'6"?
Charlamagne?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, he's a little short guy. Look, uh, the real Charlemagne was an Adolf Hitler prototype, but an Adolf Hitler on steroids. He did ethnic cleansing all through Europe. He was a Franco-German. It meant Charles the Great. So this clown on the Breakfast Club is saying Charles the Great, the God. Charlemagne was a psychopath.
Dang.
There was one little episode where he went down to where the Basques still live, and they still had the old habit of cremating their dead. Rocky place ain't very much area to bury somebody, right? So he went down and he slaughtered 120, 125,000 of them because they cremated their dead. He did stuff like that. He slaughtered people, killed out whole regions, exterminated everybody because they didn't switch over to his particular brand of religion. Ethnic cleansing on a super scale back in the Dark Ages, the 10th century, in the 900s. So that's who he's calling himself by, Charlemagne the God. Now, like, why would a black man name himself after a German psychopath? You got it? That's like saying, I'm Adolf the Great.
No, they wouldn't let you say that.
Yeah, but Charlemagne was worse.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You know, you add 500 years to it, and somebody's war criminal crimes against humanity type becomes worthy of note because he exercised power.
I think you're right about the attack on masculinity, because I said something about DJ Envy. They had a thing online going around where Bill Gates allegedly cheated and had a side mistress, and DJ Envy allegedly cheated, and Bill Gates was able to keep his stuff quiet and move on like a man, and DJ Envy had to go in front of the world and a bunch of women and apologize to all the women in the world, you know, when now it should have been personal with his wife. So I told him he need to be on a leash and be drug around with his wife, because to me that's not a man.
That's a good suggestion. How about Wade, one of your former colleagues, Wade, talking about his wife wears the pants in the family?
Just saw that.
Case, that's literally true, because she's letting that boy his wear dresses and he's wearing kilts. So he doesn't have them on pants either. So I think that's a cop-out. And other thing, you gonna let an 8-year-old decide that he wants to be a girl? He hadn't even got a good heart on yet. How the hell is he? He doesn't even know what pussy is. How the hell are you gonna make that determination?
I have no idea.
But you see, that's what they want. They want some nice tender booty for them to deal with. See, I found out something about pedophiles when I was sentencing them. I'd get them psychologically evaluated. They'd had a guy sitting in the chair with transducers on. They get his blood pressure and everything and reactions, and they put them on his dick too. So they'd show porn films. These guys get no reaction to looking at men and women, but they get rock hard erections looking at simulations of little children getting screwed. That's a sick fuck. You can't do anything about that. But see, they're glorifying that. They are taking stuff and they are looking for recruits. I was a Boy Scout and a Cub Scout master for about 15 years. I bailed when they started doing this thing. I was on a bench. I bailed when they started doing this thing about letting in openly admitted adult leaders. I said, this is not going wrong, right? And last year, the Boy Scouts in America ended because they went bankrupt from settling all of these child molestation cases. Then they tried to put in little girls. And I said, girls have brownies, campfire girls, Girl Scouts. Why do they need Boy Scouts? These emasculated young boys need to get some man up in their system, and you need an adult scout leader to take them to these camps where for a week they're out in the forest someplace. But can you see having some little girls out there with one male scout leader 24/7 for a week? No, that's a disaster.
No way. My daughter not going.
No, see, that's a disaster.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They do something. Speaking of which, for 51 years, they have had a national Take Your Daughter to Work Week. They've never had one for Take Your Son to Work.
Really?
Now, you want to know how bad it is? The Defense Department did a study back in 2000 to 2010. They published some white papers. The situation has not changed 10 years later. For the 21st century, on average, only 28% of each year's high school graduates are male. That includes all ethnicities in the country. Only 34% of the college undergraduates are male. Only 36% of the college graduate students are male. Only 44% of the workforce is male. And although they still have this myth of women getting paid less than men for the same job, they have not published the fact that that has reversed. For 35 and under, the women get paid more for the same jobs than the men do. And, you know, Silicon Valley has had quite a few settlements they have had to pay out because the men were not paid what the women were getting paid for comparable jobs. So,
man, that's crazy.
You also have another problem which bothers me. Survey after survey, there are more boy virgins 25 and under than there are girl virgins 25 and under. Boys ain't getting pussy.
That's why they so mad.
Well, yeah, but yeah, and then the other thing too is, see, on the LGBT thing, nationally, survey after survey says a little less than 5.6% of the American public LGBT. That means shit. You got 94% that aren't. For those 55 and older, the percentage, depending upon the survey, ranges from about 1.5% to 2%. For those 18 to 25, the percentage is 16%, which is probably why, or hooked up with why they ain't getting laid by girls anyway. So some guys are getting all the nookie and some ain't getting any. And that's another thing that the feminists have set in play that is going to come back and bite them, is this incel shit, where these guys want to take women out because the women won't lay them, and hell, they don't know how to get laid.
Yeah,
you know,
you're gonna have to make a lot of money. Yeah. So
well,
how do you
make money? They can't get it. See,
they still can't get it
now. No, they can't get it. And see, there's this thing now going around. What money got to do with it, man? You sit there, judge bad mouthing my family situation. My woman and I, we got 150,000. I don't make but 30, but she make 120. Well, man, you simping. You ain't pulling down your load, dude. What you doing? You useless. You making 30 grand and your woman making 120. You ain't shit. Well, I'll make her feel good. Fuck that. That's just playing gigolo.
So how do you think the media tie in with what you're saying? How like, what have you seen in the media that you can make it plain for people to see? Like,
okay, let me give it this. I was on the Oscar and the Emmy board because of what I was doing with this show for 15 years. I could vote on the Oscar recipients, make motions and all that shit. So I would get all of these emails, and they had a little funny looking stop sign that was kind of yellow with pale green and pink and stuff on it. And I didn't know what it was because it didn't have anything on it. So I clicked on it. It was LGBTQ site, right? So they were explaining this stuff. And they were talking about how this thing worked. And they were bragging that between 85 and 90% of all people that worked in Hollywood were LGBTQ, etc., practitioners, not just supporters. And they'd list them. And the list is surprising. So what happens is when you go to Hollywood, and I know this from experience, with the exception of the cameraman, maybe the sound people, 9 out of every 10 people you deal with are on the dark side. They go that way. And one of the worst jobs I ever had in my life was working in Hollywood for 15 years. I've never seen such a bunch of male and female vicious bitches who backstabbed, tried to cut throats, didn't have the nerve to confront you straight up, but would try to destroy you, pull off all kinds of dirty tricks. And I had to watch my 6 day in, day out.
That's what they're doing to me now.